Mustard Seed Africa is an organization that focuses on community development initiatives, and our main focus is the economic and social spheres. And what we do is we coordinate activities for women at the grassroots level to be able to earn an income. We figure out where do they get their resources, what skills do they have. It's a consultative, participatory approach where we go in as partners with the artisans or the community we're working with, and then we come together to find a solution with the aim of being able to earn an income at the end of it. We are based in Zimbabwe now, but we've been operating in Swaziland for the past 7 years. The environment in Zimbabwe is more or less the same as Swaziland, so a lot of similarities which make it easier for us to continue with the work that we do. The Rural to Ramp Handcraft Showcase is a platform where we get together designers, local or international, to collaborate with handcraft artisans to produce products that are African by inspiration and contemporary in design.
But it's going to be different for depending on the model.
So it can be done last minute.
Yeah.
So what we have is a project that focuses on craft couture. And this came about after the realization that the challenges that handcraft artisans in Africa face are mainly product development and design and also accessing markets. So the Rural to Ramp Handcraft Showcase focuses on those two because you create a platform for that artistic expression to be showcased on the ramp by models. And it also includes the stories, because the stories are a powerful tool in promoting the journey of the product as it transitions from the rural to the ramp.
Here in Zimbabwe, we were working with very grassroots level producers, roadside producers who had limited resources, limited finances. They also haven't had great exposure outside of Zimbabwe or to any sort of product development or stimulation within the handcraft sector in Zimbabwe. So it did present some challenges. It was definitely more challenging for myself coming from the design direction. It was really going back to the basics and trying to make people understand who they are, where they come from, and how they can present that through their design so that they can have their own identity.
Lupane Women's Center was established in 1997, started by 14 women who were working in their rural homes. Working with Rebecca Moore is going to really bring a change in the way we see the products, or we have been making the products, in that it gives us an understanding of what the market wants, the trends, and even the current changes that have been happening in the market. And it's also going to enable us to open up and think beyond what we've been doing and come up with new product lines.
Okay, so let's take the skirt off. We can get one of the ladies to stitch now. So this is here, so it's just fastened on up halfway on both sides.
We would also want to change perceptions so that people don't see handcraft as something that old women do or as a hobby to pass time, but where people will seek after these products and appreciate the hours it takes to putting in the product, because there are many sacrifices and challenges that artisans face with their products, and they're not respected, you know, in their expertise and the work that they do. And people sometimes have a preference for imported or mass-produced products, whereas if we can appreciate the cultural heritage that's passed on in those products, it'll make a difference. The knitters of Makanya are a typical example of the groups that we work with. They're a group of women who meet once a week, and they come together to discuss, to work. They focus on crochet and knitting. And the beauty of this model is that getting together helps them to come together as a community and share their challenges that women face in a community. But also when they work from home at their own time, they can tend to their fields, look after their children, care for their families, and still be able to work at their own pace and then come together at the end of the week and hand in their work.
Upenyu hwangu huri kufamba zvakanaka chaizvo. Ndave kuwana zvose zvandandisina mumba. Kana ndatambira mari, ndakutotengawo shuga mumba, matenesi okupfeka muchando, ndakutochena.
It was quite interesting to meet with Becky. So she helped me to design these things.
Then the collection is good to go. It's perfect for photographing, perfect for putting on rural to ramp.
And she just put them on paper And when I came back to the women, I had to decide what was to be done, a pattern and design and shapes. So we came up with everything perfect and fine. So when Becky saw these things, she was so thrilled. She was fascinated. We even shook hands that this is great. And so I knew we'd stepped onto new ground. It was an international exposure.
We were invited by HIFA to coordinate a handcraft showcase as a capacity building exercise. Another important element of the handcraft showcase is that not only do the participants engage in this product development design, but they also learn products, new techniques, skills, collaboration, and that helps them produce products that will see them for the next season, for the next year. And that keeps their businesses sustainable, because you'll find when you go to markets, there's the same products you see from market to market across Africa. But when you get that cross-cultural collaboration, when you get young people involved in graphic design or other elements of design, it makes such a difference, because you have a skilled artisan and you have some highly creative designer coming together and creating colors of the season, or just coming together with products that are totally exciting and that are appealing to the sophisticated buyer.
If we use you, we should use your animal print
Yeah.
material underneath. What do you think? Because it's all
Yeah, it
inspired
looks
by the
more
animals,
animal, yes.
isn't it? So that's fantastic. The direction for Rural to Ramp is actually to stimulate a greater conversation between fashion houses, design studios and artisans, to really to preserve more of the skill of the hands and to celebrate the handmade world.
With Zimbabwean artists and artisans, what a lot of people don't appreciate is how good Zimbabweans are with their hands. And this is not a recent thing. Zimbabwean metalsmiths and goldsmiths have been making the most intricate wires and gold jewelry for thousands of years in Zimbabwe. So it is inherent in Zimbabwean culture, this great technique with people's hands, and the desire to make beautiful things.
Where I live is where I get my inspiration and my surroundings. I work with wire and beads. I also work with telephone wire. I also work with wire from tires.
We have a lot of things we have learned as well. Labor is difficult to come about, so we have been taught to be resourceful, so now we're using patchwork to come up with nice ideas like this. And the beads, we access them from flowers, especially this bead is from a flower called a canna flower. That's where we got the seeds. Now we are doing some nice pieces. This is a neck piece made out of beads, as you can see. Nice, isn't it? We have learned a lot of collaborations, to collaborate with other people so we can come up with new ideas, like the Lupani women from Bulawayo. They made us these baskets, so we used them and we patched them up with leather so we can come up with some bags.
As the Lydians, we decided to make jewelry, and we use beads. Of late, thanks to HIFA, we've started using bones. We use cow horn. We are exploring seeds. We have collaborated with James on the horn. Generally, he's the one who's been working on horn on its own as a medium. And we, on the other hand, have been working with beads on their own. Now, having explored the combination of our beads, for example, this that I have here, looking at the textures and, it's enhanced our product. We're becoming more aware of who we are as Africans. We are moving away from a time when you had to wear something foreign to be recognized as somebody. We are taking up our I'll call it patriotism with us, even to our closets and our wardrobes. And we therefore decided that we were going to take care of the local market as well as international and give them something that is us, something that comes from within. Yeah.
I met with my team every week, and I think 4 or 5 meetings before the actual show. And with every meeting, there was more and more confidence, there was more and more of a bond, and there was more and more speaking, communication between artists. And it was great to experience that. You know, none of the artists knew each other from Abara Soap. And I think a lot of them will probably stay in touch for a long time now. I definitely think they benefited in that respect. I did very much so, yeah.
I've been involved in the fashion industry in Zimbabwe, I think, for nearly 20 years now. Initially as a trainee designer merchandiser in a factory, and then later on supplying other chains with collections, and then later on going into my own collection. As a fashion designer, it's been very exciting. I've identified people I can actually work with, I can collaborate with in terms of my collection. Beadwork, wirework, metalwork, and this has actually inspired me to go into a project where I actually want to train up young artists so they can actually compete globally, because they are very talented artistically. And I believe that people can actually make a decent living out of that, you know.
So I'm part of a design partnership called Brown Fruit Designs, and we're doing the jewelry and accessorizing for our group. So we've been working with some weaving, some metalwork, and beads as well. So we've just been teaming those things to come up with things that are quite colorful and dramatic for the show. Moses uses scraps of metal and uses them to make beautiful things like this as well. We've asked a couple of people from other groups who work with leather, people who do bags as well, bone, to see if there's something we can come up with that we can incorporate in our own jewelry collection in the future. So it's been good. It's been encouraging as well to see that there's a lot of talent out there and gifted people as well. So everyone came together and were under one roof very quickly. So we didn't have to, try to look for them. They kind of came to us. So through that kind of meeting, that's when we managed to see what kind of ideas we could have. And then even through those people, we've made other connections as well.
We always encourage our participants to use as many recycled products as possible. And we feel that that's our way of also reducing our carbon footprint, but also looking at secondary uses of products that, may be lying around. And it's been really good for us because you find that the artisans now, instead of trashing things away, see how they can incorporate that into the product. And what you have is a beautiful product that emerges in the end when you see the creativity that goes into thinking of how you can use something you'd throw away as into creating something beautiful that can be sought after by a buyer.
I've got some more and more ideas coming from the recycled things. I've started with the CDs. I combined the CDs with some paintings. So I am combining the CDs and the bottle tops. I got the idea of that you can also make some dresses for the models. It's an idea which I was given by Becky that try to cut the CDs to combine them as a pattern. When you're doing something, I don't know how to explain it. It just comes when you are doing it, that you cannot bring it out, but you've got the idea.
The concept for HIFA was to look at iconic African motifs or objects and to use them to inspire and to look at what our roots are here on the continent, to get people to understand who they are, where they come from, and celebrate that, present that to the world, to shout about it and to tell everyone what an amazing place Africa is and what Africa has to offer.
So HIFA, as you know, is a wonderful melting pot. You get people from all over the world. And I know for a fact I interacted with people from Ghana, from Canada, and all parts of the world. But for us, it was not only, having that cross-cultural collaboration and that feedback from people from different parts of the world, but seeing how far some of our products went.
An artist at HIFA a musician who had seen their bags and desperately wanted to buy them. The guys took the initiative to go to the show, so it was packed out with people, and they held the bags up above their heads and danced. And the musician saw them from the stage and made all the audience part to let them come through and to welcome them onto stage.
It was a very great moment. Our product was appreciated by somebody who is more or less well known in the country where she comes from, and all her band members ended up buying also our items. So it really made our day or our HIFA 2013.
We would like to see more young people participate. I think young people have their finger on the pulse. So this is a platform where we talk about the textiles, the colors, the time it takes to produce the product, and you're bringing together an audience to see handcraft from a totally different perspective, whilst they listen to folk tales, poems, and just appreciate the transition of the product as it comes from rural to the ramp. I believe with the quality of work we see and the creativity, we definitely are heading towards the same direction as London Fashion Week, because our work is truly of an international standard. I think our continent has so much to offer. I believe the Road to Ramp Handcraft Showcase is a brilliant platform in that it showcases the best of the best in African textiles and African handcraft. We want to make a lot of noise about what we're capable of. We, for so long, have been perceived as the continent with the begging bowl. But we're saying, this is who we are, this is what we're capable of. Buy our products because you find them appealing, because you love what you're seeing, and not because you pity us.
Takasunga.